Hey everyone, I'm Julianne Meyer. You are watching Own Your Wellness, and I feel like I haven't been behind the camera in a while just because of the holidays and all that. But I'm excited because today's guest, she is absolutely amazing. So I'm just going to bring her on. Stacy McAlpine, welcome to the show.
Hello. So happy to
Yes.
be here.
I'm so glad that we finally got this chance to connect on camera. You and I have had the opportunity to speak privately, but I really am excited about who you are and how you show up in the world and help people. So I thought it was really important to bring you on and put you in front of the audience. So
Awesome.
let's start off with you telling us a bit about yourself and how you got to be where you are today.
Sure. Well, I was born, no, I'm kidding. Stacy McAlpine. I have been in the industry of helping individuals and organizations over the last 2 decades. So I started out in consulting, so doing process improvement, project management, change management, which all that means is helping companies with things that they've never done before create change in their own organizations. So I'm sure anybody who's ever worked anywhere or even in your own lives have found that you need to change a process or do something new. And that's what I used to do for companies. And then as I was doing that, I found that the tools and techniques that I would use with my clients, there's like 2 key methodologies that are used over and over and over by all the professionals in the industry. So there's, for project management, we have a Bible called Project Management Body of Knowledge, PMBOK. And there's that way we do it every time, whether we're putting in an IT system or standing up the Defense Center of Excellence for Psychological Health and Traumatic Brain Injury, or creating an entirely new hospital. So all of which projects that I led. And then there's the change management, which is the people side. So that's once you know what you want to do to make a change in an organization, you've got to get people to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's where I feel like the biggest impact that's missing the most in the personal development industry is how do you get people to change, including yourselves. So from one person to an organization of 250,000 people, each individual needs to adopt the change for the result to happen. Mm-hmm. And so when I was in my own personal development journey, I mean, working 50, 60-hour weeks, it's a very competitive, high intensity career and profession. And so, raising my daughter at the time, and then with one on the way, working 50, 60-hour weeks. My husband at the time was in law school full time. So I had a stepdaughter in high school, being the only breadwinner. I lived in the DC metro area, so had a big, long commute into the city, and basically, was super overwhelmed. You can only do that for so long before, just pure energy can get you through. And it got to the point where I was just like, is this really what life is? Really? Like, I just wake up, go to work my butt off, take care of my kids, come home, mommy, I need a sippy cup. Oh, I need to do the laundry. My husband's not home, so I have to help my stepdaughter not fail out of high school, right? It's like, no pressure. Oh, and by the way, the client needs this. And oh, by the way, we have a proposal that's due in 5 days. Can you lead it? All of that stuff. Oh, and coach 3 people at the same time. You can only do that for so long before it's like a snow globe. And I talk to people, it's like a snow globe in your brain. It's like you just want to 2 seconds and we just settle the snow, right? And I know so many people who are watching this, most likely that can resonate with, where it's just like, please, can I just breathe? Please. Like, when are you going to find time for that? And so, but I was trying everything. I was doing all the programs, reading all the books, we'd maybe get to the written exercise in the book and be like, I don't have time for that. Next book, listening to all the audiobooks, and it just wasn't working. I mean, I was just, it's how to apply it where I think the majority of us get stuck. Oh, that's such a great tip. Or you go to all the seminars, you do all the training, and it's like, yeah, that sounds so great. How do I tailor that to my own life? And the tailoring part, when you're in overwhelm or frustration or just super high stress mode, where you're really not even yourself, like I found myself snapping at my daughter for skipping, being so cute. Or I told my daughter once, it's like, you're going to have to tell your teachers that your mom went to the mental institute because she couldn't find a parking spot at the post office. Like the littlest things, you know, would put me over the top. And it's like, this is not fun. And I was realizing my kids are never going to know me because I'm not knowing myself. And there was a point at which I didn't want my kids to be like me with some of the ways that I was showing up in my relationships, you know, the things I was putting up with in very toxic relationships, but just knowing that I didn't have time to go deal with that, or, you know, I just want to get through it. So all this stuff going on. And I still was like, okay, something needs to change though. Like I can't keep doing this. I do this for clients that pay me and my organizations that I work for millions of dollars, literally millions of dollars. I mean, our contracts would be in the tens of millions of dollars to bring us in to do this stuff. So it's not like we're just going to give it a whirl. You know, we're only going to use the methodologies that work, and they work every time. It's just a matter of applying, you know, scope, if you will. What is the topic? What is the type of change we're trying to make? Pulling in the people that we can elicit answers from, tailor what they need to do next, and keeping them on track. That's what I did. And so I'm like, if I can do that for clients, that's basically what I need to do for myself. So if I can do it for them, there has got to be a way that I can do it to myself. So I started applying and pretending I was a client, because, you know, we can always do more for our clients than we tend to do for ourselves or our friends or anybody, you know, it's like we can always find time for that. So I'm going to start to put myself on that list and being able to start to do what I advise all my clients to do and do it for myself as an individual. And it was just, you know, the word alchemy, to anybody who knows that word, it's chemistry, right? It's like when you start to put the right chemicals together, you get that reaction. If you do it over a little bit over here, a little bit over there, or they're not integrated in the right way, nothing happens. So once I put the two together, where I put the consulting methods that I was skilled in with being able to do all the best practices that I've been reading for decades, like I was a big personal development nerd. I had my first Covey planner in 7th grade, a little teen one, like the spiral bound, you know, how to use your time wisely back in, you know, junior high. So those were all the things I'd been learning all along. It was a matter of putting them together. So over the last decade, I've basically been between learning it myself and applying it to myself, seeing that it worked, helping other people, guinea pigging it for a while, you know, bringing in people saying, is this just me because I know how to do it? Or can I help other people know how to bring it into their world without it being boring? You know, it's not about strategy and goals. I mean, I'd rather poke my eye out, right? It's how do you translate what we do into something that's fun? Because it's also fun. There's formula, right? There's fun. And so putting it together so you actually want to do it, and it doesn't just feel like one more thing to do. So that's basically been my life over the last decade, between applying it to myself and realizing I want to shift out of doing that for companies and really help individuals be able to bring that into their world. Because I think that's the biggest missing piece. And I get really emotional when I talk about this. I've been, the last month actually, and we'll talk about this later, I've been putting together a new program of how do I make it even easier and simpler and, you know, just streamline it to get the best results in the fastest way and make it fun so people don't even realize that they're applying these methods. It's just showing up and doing these different things as I ask different questions or show different ways of doing things, that they can activate it in a way that isn't overwhelming. You know, like, where are you? What's your capacity for change? We would do that with clients all the time. You can't change everything all at one time. So we're going to, you know, you can only have so much capacity to do new things when you're so used to doing the same things over and over. So it's how do you work that in wherever you are into the level of stresses that you're in? What can you handle until you can start to build a muscle to where now you're all of a sudden, you're not like, wait, I'm doing this. Like, this is happening. And then your mindset changes and your energy changes. This just happens with my clients all the time. And it's my favorite thing to watch is when they hit that point. And it doesn't take long. I mean, it's maybe a couple weeks as they're starting to really tap into what does matter most. What is it to spend my time on? What do I stop spending my time on? And then it just sort of hits. And that's why I do it. It lights me up, and that's what I've been doing. And that's where Journey Fuel was born, which is the company that I created to transition out of consulting into life transformation for individuals. So that's a bit about kind of my journey, where I am today, and what I love about what I do.
I love that. There's so many things that you said that I kind of want to touch on, but the first thing that I really want to mention is like this idea of knowing what to do and actually doing it. And the very first coach that I ever hired, he was so expensive. I mean, I was on I was salary. So, I mean, I only made X amount of money. So for me to like come up with $4,000 for 3 months of coaching at that time out of thin air was like, okay, how am I going to do this? But it was the best money I ever spent. And, but one of the things he said is, you know, he actually spent 14 years in a Zen monastery as a monk. And before that, I know, but before that, he talks about his turning point where he went into this, he called it a Buddha store. So you know what I'm talking about? Like when he went into a Buddha store. With his girlfriend at the time, and actually fell in love with this book that he saw there. I actually happen to know the author, which is funny. But anyway, so he started reading all these books about meditation, all the time. And he finally realized after maybe 6 months of constantly reading all these books about meditation, he thought, maybe I should meditate. I've been doing all the learning, but I haven't been the doing. I mean, everybody struggles with that. So I love that you're filling that gap, because it is nice to take idea to action.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Well, and the thing too is, you know, I went through a lot of stages, and it took me a long time and a lot of pain in my own life of being able to get to where I hit that point of either I do something different or I'm going to implode, and I'm going to, you know, pile on the floor. A lot takes that level of pain to get there. And, you know, Tony Robbins says you don't change for pleasure, you change to avoid pain. And until it's more painful to stay the same, you don't change.
Yeah.
And I think if it, you know, as the audience, you know, you guys out there, if you stop and really think about that, how many times have you changed just because it sounded good when you were in a state of stress? It needs to be more painful to stay. And it's not even like you have to wait for it to be super horrible. It's thinking about, what is it that I'm going to lose if I don't change? Or even if you're not totally, you know, in a life where life just totally sucks, you just want something new, or you haven't found you know, I get people all the time, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what it's going to really fill that hole. You know, I always talk about Stuart Little. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Stuart Little, but it's about this little mouse who has a family that's of like real humans. And he was adopted by this family. And this little mouse family comes along. It's kind of like Annie, you know, she wants to meet her real parents, but it's with the little mouse. And the humans were like, but, you know, that kind of hurt that they wanted, you know, the little mouse wanted to go meet his family. And he goes, but here's the thing, if I don't meet them, I'm always going to have an empty space. And that just like, every time I say it, my heartstrings get tugged. You know, I think a lot of us can relate. There's like an empty space. And we don't know what's going to fix that or fill it. Or, you know, I spent a long time where it was, I know I want something else. I just don't know what it is. So I'm all in, but I don't know where to put all my energy. I don't know what's going to do it. I don't even know myself. I mean, I was at a point where one of my goals was to be authentic and learn who the heck that was. I didn't even know who I was for real. You know, I've been living with other people's expectations for so long. I grew up with a narcissist father, like level 9. Ended up marrying one of those that's like, oh my gosh, you don't realize it till you're out of it, what an intense, emotionally abusive life that is. You just kind of get, you know, emotionally beat into doing whatever they say so they'll stop yelling at you. Or, you know, it's easier to just do what they say, or it kind of hits, and they're really good at messing with your head and being able to make you think there's something wrong with you until, you know, somehow these things can get into place where kind of like, wait a minute, like you said, with coaching, the right coach at the right time, you only know what you know. You don't know what you don't know. Chris Howard says you can't read the label from inside the jar.
I love that saying. It's one of my favorites.
Right? Isn't that great? I mean, it's like, well, yeah. Doesn't that sound so logical? It's like, yeah, of course so. But we're so busy. It's really, it's not your fault if you're listening to this. It isn't. It can feel like it. It's like, what the hell? I'm a smart person. You could think to yourself, right? I know a lot of you, all of you are listening to this show. You're smart, you're capable, you're a high achiever, you want more. And you just don't know how to get it because you only know what you know. You don't know what these other tools and techniques are. So it's a matter of sometimes it is really important to get somebody who knows how to do it because you can only coach yourself so much before you're at a loss. So I think it was a combination for me of getting to a point of, I don't want 40 more years of this. 40 years old. I'm like, people want to live a long time. Why? I don't want this for 40 more years. People are like, oh, I'm at the end of my career. You guys got a long way to go. Our lifespan is extending all the time. So do you want another 40 years of this? Or even like a day, because you don't know if you have 40 years, right? But is this the way I want to spend the last day on the planet? However, perspective, so it goes back to my original point of how to create it where it feels like it's more painful to stay the same. Some of it is awareness and just thinking about, okay, I might not be at an implosion state, but it's only a matter of time. Or I'm going to look back later and be like, really? I didn't, that was my life. And so you don't want to have to wait until the pain hits in that level. So there are ways that you can get to a level of awareness where you just shift the way you're looking at it. It's a different lens, and it is a paradigm shift. I mean, the littlest things can change it in a second. I mean, I had to see it all the time. In an hour, people are feeling different at the end than they even realized at the beginning. Because when you hear that right thing at the right time, even if you heard it 100 times, you're in a certain state, and it's like, yeah, but you've heard it a lot. It's a matter of state of mind or kind of where you are in awareness. So it's how do you create an awareness in your life of what it is that's happening, pausing, letting the snow settle. But sometimes you need someone else to help you get the snow to settle.
Yeah.
Right? And, that's what we'll talk about later, of what's something that I have coming up that I'm super excited about that I've been working on. And a lot of this, my story and, bringing in to help people relate and understand why this works or where this came from, of being able to put together my own story and kind of sharpening that for people of like, wow, I kind of forgot about that. Or, oh yeah, that's where I was. And so I've spent a lot of time of really getting into the mindset of where you are, because I am out of that now. I did get out of it, but when you're in it, it's a very different level of, I guess, capacity, right? The ability to even think that far or be able to understand where you're at and how one little step can make a difference, because I've already done it. But at the time, I would have been like, nope, can't. That's a lot. Like, you're asking me to take 5 minutes out of my day. Like, I don't have 5 minutes out of my day, much less to think about, let me think about my pain and be aware. So I've been spending a lot of time of going back to the programs that I've been doing, getting results, and at the same time wanting to be able to help even more people that may not already be at that state but are on their way. To be able to get to, okay, where are they at and what is the level of effort that I'm kind of giving them to invest, and how to make it simpler and easier and just feel like another part of their day versus another to-do. It starts to create that muscle where now you can follow through and build trust in yourself. And with little things, people like to start big. Don't start big. Start tiny, so that you can start to build that muscle to, hey, I did it. I followed through. Like, I found 5 minutes to do what I said I was going to do for 30 years, right? And then it's like, yeah, I can do this. And then you're extending it to 10 minutes. And then it's like, wait a minute, now I can do something different. I had my the time for that snow to settle. So it's all of this stuff that's coming together. I'm super excited about that, to your point of coaching and getting the right person at the right time. It's huge. It's a game changer.
It is. We do need to go to a commercial break, but I do want to make a comment. There is this saying, I used to work in addiction recovery, so I'm very familiar with all the AA jargon and all that. But there's this one that just rings true, and it's that your best thinking got you here. And so it always helps to have another perspective. It always helps to have somebody that can show you how they did it.
Yeah, totally. I love that.
I love that too. But anyway, we do need to go to a commercial break. So we're going to be back in just a minute. And for those of you who are watching us live, I just want to say thank you for being here. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation, and we're going to learn a little bit more about what Stacy's up to and how she is helping people, including you, if you're up for it. We'll see you soon. Welcome back, everyone. Let's bring Stacy back to the stage. I was thinking about the Sarah commercial. I apologize.
Those are some good commercials. I was enjoying
thank you. It's kind of fun. But, we've kind of touched on this topic a little bit, but you have created something, and I really want to jump right into that and bring that up because you're doing some amazing things. And for those of you who are watching, I know some of you are already Googling Stacy, trying to figure out more about her. So why don't you share a little bit about what you're up to?
Sure. Well, and if you are Googling, you can already go to journeyfuelgift.com. So what I'm up to is I'm getting to where I'm about to launch a brand new program, and I'm super excited about what's coming up that's going to be able to get those steps started, right? So rather than just launching into, gee, I'm going to go spend thousands of dollars. Yeah. But are you going to be able to, is it the right fit for you? And learning about well, how can I get started before that? Right. So I created a program that, that actually started with 15-minute weekly sparks. So that's something you can already do, is the weekly spark, where we start live every 15 minutes, or 15 minutes every Wednesday. I do a 15-minute live. And from that, it's like, you know what, there's so much more that I want to make sure people can activate with, because I was doing that to help people finish 2023 strong. What can we do 15 minutes a week to what we were talking about before, right? How do you fit it in yourself? How do you fit yourself in to be able to take that baby step? And that's what we were doing in these 15 minutes. And I wanted to do it a little longer, but still on that same path of what I was saying before, of not to be overwhelming. You know, there's a lot of 3-day weekend stuff, or, you know, full day programs, or I was even doing a 90-minute session before. And a lot of times people are like, 90 minutes, that's a long time. But an hour, you know, you take an hour for how many people that interrupt your day. You know, during the work week, it's like you had a plan, you had stuff on your calendar, and somebody's like, hey, you know, Joe, I really need your help on this now. And somehow you were able to make that happen. Or your daughter needed to be picked up from school. It's like, oh crap. But what about you, right? Can an emergency happen to you? Or can you have something that you can do for yourself and make time? You make time for those weddings, right? You make time for those things, but let's make it as easy as possible and do an hour. So on December 6th, I have a live program, but that's also, I know this is airing after, so that program can be watched again until the 19th. So when you get the ability to sign up, then you can still participate. So the QR code's down there, so you can still sign up and be able to watch and access this 1-hour session where you get the same information, the same energy, the same transformative information that isn't just about, you know, what the next program is, but what is the approach that works? Like, what are the missing pieces? So what I'm doing, it's called Soar into 2024. And it's 1 hour where you're going to be able to go in and really be able to connect with, what is it that you want really? Like, what is an approach that you can take from any taken? It's that alchemy, right? That's these different pieces that you haven't had in the personal development space that I've put together, and I'll be sharing the Journey Fuel formula for change. So it's a formula. It's like I was saying before, as a consultant, I like rinse and repeat. I know this is going to work every time. No matter what it is, it's going to work, right? So that's why I created the formula, because I want a formula. I want a proven system. And that's where, you know, for those of you who are wherever you're at, it's like you don't want to just try something and hope it works, especially if it's going to make a change in your life. And sometimes change can be scary. So how do you take the fear out of it? You know, project management, how do you eliminate risk? What are the risks out there that you can eliminate now so it isn't so risky? It's the same thing, like fear of change, or what if it doesn't work? Or what if I spend all this time and I'm in a worse place? Or, you know, all the things that can go with change can be scary. So how do you take that out? That's what the formula is all about. Is it's going to work. It goes at the pace that you're ready to be in. And it's a complete, like flipping the script of what you've heard before. So we have these ways of going about approaching change, but they've been backwards. So in this session, I'm going to share with you why you haven't gotten results so far, like what's been missing. And you're going to be like, what? Wow, that makes so much sense. And now now that I know it, what do I do? And so I'm going to go through the 4 missing pieces, and I'm not going to tell you what the pieces are, but the 4 so that you have something to look forward to. What's been missing, and how can you put those pieces together, and something you can start right away. You can start right in the middle of the session, and then that you can keep using over time in your own life, that's going to get you to be able to make that shift in a way that you have the capacity to handle. Whether you're ready for just to breathe and let the snow settle for 15 seconds, or, you know, start with that 5-minute. Let's try this. You know, this is a good way to say, okay, I'm going to book the 60 minutes. I'm going to make this time for myself, because I can make this time for anybody else. And it's going to make all the days beyond that so much different. You'll still be able to help other people. You'll still be able to be there for the people that matter most, but you're also going to be able to be there for yourself and start to make the next 40 years something you actually look forward to, and even your next day. So Journey Fuel, as I mentioned before, is the company that I started. That's I named it that on purpose. So journey, because life's a journey. That's what you hear that all the time. Life's a journey. It's not about the destination, right? My favorite quote of all time is, if life's a journey, life's greatest tragedy is having not enjoyed the trip. And it's actually a BMW ad. Best BMW ad ever, right? If life's a journey, I don't want the whole trip to suck the whole way. If you're driving cross country and you do it in 4 days, and you're like, I'm going to get there and do nothing fun in between, versus, okay, maybe I'll go see the largest ball of yarn on my way, or maybe I'm going to get that date shake, or I'm going to have ribs in Texas on my way. There are ways to make it enjoyable and still get there, right? So it's, how do you even know where you're going in a different way than you've ever thought about that before? So in a lot of the programs, the first thing you hear, and how many worksheets have you filled out? What are your values? What are your goals? How are you going to know, what are you going to do this year? You fill it out and you close it and you move on, because it's like, that's a lot. Oh God. Or even some people don't even like to set goals, because it's like, wait a minute, now I have to do something. Or now I have a new expectation of myself. I have enough expectations on me, and so it's, how do you change the approach to what it is that you want to be different, that you have that certainty about, well, what do I want anyway? Because if somebody's like, well, I was at a state where, what do you want? Well, if I knew, that's an awesome question, because if I knew, I'd probably do it. And I don't know. I have no idea. So it's a new way of tapping into, how do you get to where you know what you want? And just to give a little sneak peek, the secret in the beginning is to start with, what is the experience of life you want to have? And an experience of life isn't the stuff. It's not the car. It's not the people. It's not your kids. It's, what are the feelings that you get from those things, right? Having kids, it's like a different level of love than you've ever experienced in your life. And trust me, and I know all the parents are out there, like, if you didn't have that, you'd be like, what the hell did I just do? But it's worth it, right? In the end. Or if you don't have kids and what is it that I do want? What are the feelings that are going to bring me the things that are going to give me that fulfillment in life? So it's not just about people and the stuff and actually getting rid of the toxic things in your life, but it's because of why? Because there are feelings that we have from these things. So to start with, well, what are the feelings I want to experience? So, and I know feelings are those things, it's like, wait, we're not supposed to feel stuff. Like, that's what gets me in this pickle in the first place. I know when I was a kid, it's like, feelings didn't matter. It's like, it's not about how I want to feel. It's the garbage is going out now. Thank you very much. Or no, you're going to business school. Thank you very much. Art school is out of the question. It's not about how I feel in that moment. So it took me some time to really connect with that. Feelings are the most accessible thing you can have. You're feeling something right now. Feelings that you might like, feelings you might not like. So something you can do right now, you don't even have to wait to go to this session, but even get your mindset there, is, how does life feel right now? And how do you want to feel instead? Easiest question on the planet. Oh, I want to feel happy. I want to feel loved. I want to feel fulfilled. Those questions, those answers can come to you pretty quickly. Not, I don't want to be sad. What I want to be fulfilled. Not, I don't want to be mad anymore. I want to be joyful. So now you have a direction. And once you have a direction with that feeling, you can start to feel it. Even just now, you can practice right now. Like, how do I want to feel? Like, if it hits a heartstring, right? So if you know how you want to feel, then you can start to go through what's going to deliver that feeling for me. And that's where the coaching comes in, because I do a process of, well, how can I help you get that answer that you haven't gotten on your own, through different techniques that I do, that'll then reveal, oh, that's what's going to deliver that feeling. And that's one of the missing pieces, right? Is to start there. Don't start at, what do I want to achieve? What's my purpose? What are the goals? Because you only know what you know. You don't know what you don't know. You only have been doing what you've been doing. You don't know what you haven't been doing that maybe you didn't think of yet. So it's a way of flipping that script of how do you start at a completely different place that's accessible, easy, and actually gives you energy right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next piece that I'll teach you in Soar to 24 is, okay, now what's the formula for taking that and bringing that to life? So it comes back to, how do you go from knowing or reading to doing in a way that isn't overwhelming? So all of that I share at Soar into 2024, that you immediately get an impact in your life right off the bat that you can already start to feel right now. And I help you help you say, okay, now that you have that feeling, now what? With a formula that when you do these things, you will get it. And I've seen it with my clients over and over and over. And it's my favorite part of what I do. It's so fun to watch their eyes. Like, you could see it in their eyes. I had a client, her name's Jenna. She's in Korea. I've had clients in Australia and Korea and in the US, all around the world. And it works and all around the world. And it's because you're individuals, you're human beings, and you have a way of creating feelings. And how do you take those feelings and bring them to life? And she hated her job. She was in a very demanding culture where the expectations are you do what you're told. It's, all these different things in place. And once she started to apply this, she's like, I never even knew that was something I even wanted. It was really interesting going through, well, what is it, what matters most to you? And that's kind of where I was. It's like, well, I don't know. And as we were doing that, she knew she liked the idea of friends. Oh, I want to have friendships. And we were going through, okay, so how do you know when you have the type of friends you want? Like, what is it how do you behave? How do you show up when you're in those relationships that you like, that give you that experience of life? And it's like, I don't know. I've never had a friend. Ouch, right? She's like 37.
Wow.
And she's like, my mom's been my friend because that's the only person that I've really been exposed to in that way, and just hadn't had those relationships. So then by the end, she was able to define, oh, this is what the feeling I want out of people that I'm with. And it just like lit up her whole world, just knowing, because she didn't even know what it was like. But I didn't tell her the answer. It's a formula for how do you help people get to that answer. So that's a little snippet of just a little piece of what we get to do together, that is starting from where you are, not expecting you to make change all at once, and giving you the baby step that's going to make your 2024 a whole nother experience of life.
I like that so much. So something that I'm thinking about is this idea of gamifying, because, you talk about, I love that word. I've always been obsessed with, because like you said, I mean, what's the saying? You can make yourself happy or you can make yourself miserable. The amount of work is the same. So why not turn it into something else? So I'm going to give the perfect example. I used to work in a pharmacy, and we worked in a long-term care pharmacy, which means that we would get prescriptions back from the nursing homes for whatever reason, and we could actually return the pills to the bottles because they were in blister packs. Anybody who's tried to pop out a pill when they're sick, that's a blister pack. So we used to pack them in blister packs. So we'd get these huge shipments back of these unused pills, and we had to put them back in the bottles. And instead of being bored, we turned it into this game called Punch Out Wars. You can punch out the fastest.
Oh, fun. Right?
We're doing the same thing. And before it was like, oh gosh, we got to do this again.
Yeah.
So I like this idea of gamifying. But we do need to go to one more commercial break. So we're going to be back in just a moment. And for those of you who are watching us on demand, because I said hello to everybody watching us live, we definitely appreciate you being here. Just hang tight. When we come back, we're going to continue more about this conversation and maybe have you look at things a little bit differently about how you can go from, the idea of something to actually doing it. We'll be right back.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's bring Stacy back to the show. Welcome back.
Hello.
Hi.
I never watch commercials. And so actually, I'm like, oh my God, I hate commercials. I'm never freebieing on anything. I'm always going to pay for the service because I hate commercials. But these commercials, so now I've been sitting here, I'm like, oh, that's really inspiring. That. So thank you for having good commercials.
Thank you for the compliment. I made most of them myself. So
oh, you're a very talented woman, by the way. Just props, because I don't know if everybody knows how many amazing things you've done. Because when I got to meet you before I came on the show, and why do I want to be on this show? And it's like, oh my God, I can't wait to be on this show. She's such an amazing human being with amazing people that she's reaching. So I just want to give you props because you've had some experience lifetime doing a lot of pretty cool things for people. So
well, thank you. I really appreciate that very much. So so let's jump back into the conversation because I want to give as much value as possible to everybody that's watching. We've been talking a lot about like this idea of not being able to see what you can't, not knowing what you don't know. And then also the idea of gamifying and, there's so many different parts to this. But what I'm curious about is people that you've worked with, what is maybe like one of the more, because there's always a through line. There seems to be some sort of something that a lot of people experience.
Yeah.
So what is one of the biggest wins that most people experience?
Yeah, so I get all emotional. I get very connected to people because I do very interactive programs. I'm not just like I don't talk at people. I really get to know the people that I'm with. And some of the different programs I've done have been multi-day programs where you really get to know people. And what I've loved about those, they've been group sessions. I love group sessions because people feed off of each other. Oh, I never thought about that. Because people are all in their different places, right? It's not just me giving wisdom. It's all these other people that are in the same boat, maybe different reasons, kind of like when I was talking about scope in a project, whatever project each person's working on, and which is their lives, they have all these different experiences. And each of you, those are watching is, I want you to give yourself some credit here of how unique you really are. There is nobody who's ever had the same conversations, the same energy swap, the same stories, the same ups, lows, nobody. And it goes back to chemistry, right? All those things that come together or make you who you are. And there is no one like you, nobody. And everybody has something super special that's inside. And a lot of people don't tap into that or know what it is or recognize it or even give themselves any kind of credit. And credit might not even be the word, but like recognition of how incredible you are as a human being on the planet, everybody. And so my favorite thing is, and people are like, always, what's my purpose? I don't know my purpose. The purpose is to be who you're here to be.
Yeah.
Super simple. Everybody doesn't have a unique purpose. Everybody's purpose is to be who you're here to be, which is where the unique part comes in. So how do you shed the shoulds, Get rid of all the stuff that people keep telling you you're supposed to be, who aren't you, that never had your experience of life. But it's more about how do you tap into who you really are and what it is you really want to do, and bring that to life and be who you are. And this might sound a little woo-woo, but I'm saying when each person is who they are, who you're here to be, you have a different energy about you. You have a different vibe. You have a different light because you're not doing a bunch of crap you don't want to do. And so it lightens. You start to let your personality out. You start being so worried about stuff that really isn't something that truly matters in the big picture, right? And so it changes the energy. So when I'm doing any of my programs with people, it's their energy changes because they're starting to realize, oh, it doesn't have to be hard. Like life's not supposed to be a pain in the ass. Like it's not supposed to be hard. I don't know if I was supposed to say that, but I used to think life on earth was purgatory.
Yeah.
I must have done something wrong and I'm supposed to do something right now to prove that I'm worthy of not having to be in this place. And each person's in their own place. But so one person, Bob, he was, in his 60s, loved personal development and always on this search. What is that I'm supposed to do next? Like I'm working my whole life. I don't know what it is. And a lot of us who are, the sponges in personal development land, it's like you're looking for that thing, that answer that's going to give you, oh, that's what I do next. And so when he started to just tap into, well, what is it that brings you to life? Like, what is it really? And how do you incorporate that into what you're doing to help you make the next decision? It was like mind-blowing for him. And now we had direction. Another one, Jenna, who's in Korea. I learned so much from just culture. Like, I just didn't think about it. I think in America, for all the goods and bads of experiences of what we appreciate about each other or not, right? But ultimately, we have a level of freedom that is very unique.
Yep.
And I just don't think about some of the cultural impacts that some people really go through, especially in other countries. I just never been exposed to that. So I love that. But for her to be able to break free from those expectations really hard. And that's how she was raised. She didn't have these other experiences. And so she realized, you know what? I don't want to be in Korea anymore. But she didn't know where to go.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, where do you go if you don't know, if you just don't want to be here? And just over the course of the time together, she's like, I know exactly where I want to be. I want to be in Canada. I want to have these people around me. I want this to happen. And it's like, well, how the hell am I going to get to Canada? Right? Like, this is my life. I have expectations. She had a lot of narcissists around her. So we really tapped into, well, what is it that you have within your control that you can make shifts that are going to help you come to the answers? And the answers start coming. And it sounds, yeah, right. I promise every person I've ever worked with, myself included, when you start to be able to get the snow to settle, when you start to be able to tap into the feeling element and start to have a compass where you have direction, it shifts the way you're thinking. It takes the things that you've always been taught or the things that you've been on top of you. Like I used to think of myself as, buried in a bunch of dirt underground, and finally my hand got to come out. And like, I finally got to get rid of all this mud that was keeping me from being myself. And that just starts to chip over the David statue and Michelangelo, of how he was asked about that. He's like, I just chipped away what wasn't supposed to be there. I'm getting the words wrong, but like, he didn't have a plan. He just started chipping away what was inside, like to get what was inside out. It wasn't to create David. It was to get whatever is trapped inside that stone out. And that's really what I do with people. That's what happens with people, is start to pick off all that stuff, the shoulds. And, another woman who's in Australia, her name's Shelly. I love working with her. We're on year 2 now of working together, and it's super fun at that year end mark, where all the stuff we were talking about in the beginning, she just up leveled to a whole new place where she thought she wanted this. And it wasn't at all really, it was more the feeling that she didn't want. But what is the feeling she wants and what's going to deliver that? And over time, as more of that stuff chipped away, it's like, oh, I know what I want. And these are the things that, and just over time, it starts to snowball and you start to realize more and more, and it becomes easier and easier. And so it's just really cool. And like in those group sessions, this person will be like, oh, I love that perspective. Or this person will pop in and say, my experience was this. And the other one's like, oh, thank God someone else gets me.
I'm not alone.
Yeah. And just one more. I just want to, because I don't know where we're at on time, but Laura, who now works for me, because she's so excited about the things that we do. Well, we're a team. We work together. If you ever go on my Instagram, that's Laura. She's amazing. But so she's like, I love running errands. And we were like, you sure? Errands? That's what's most important to you? And it took some time for her to be like, it's not the errand. I like accomplishing things. But she was convinced that no, errands, like I love it. I'm like, you like to just go to Best Buy and make returns? Yeah, it's so satisfying. So those are the little things. It's the little things to the big things, from not, realizing it's not about returning things at Best Buy that's going to deliver it. It's the feeling of accomplishing something and getting something done, to moving from Korea to Canada. It's all the stuff in between.
I love that so much. I don't think you know this, but I actually emigrated to Canada as well. I lived there for about 6 years.
Yeah, of course you did. You've done so many things. That's so cool.
So I get the idea of wanting to live in Canada.
Yeah, right?
But we are almost out of time. We have about 2 minutes left. Is there any final thoughts that you'd love to share with the audience before we wrap up?
Yeah, it's it doesn't have to be a big step. And in fact, the smaller the step, the better, for making life, taking life from feeling like this is what it is, or, being frustrated. High achievers that you love to be successful, and you might be doing things that just aren't, or, yeah, I'm successful, but I'm not happy, or I don't want to be where I'm at. I just don't know where I want to be instead. Or the snow globe's just so intense that to think about the next step is just like, wait, really? Is the babier step you can take, the smaller step you can take. It's okay. Even if it's, and my recommendation is right now, sign up for Soar into 2024. And that's a win, because you're taking an action. The next one, show up. And by the time this is airing, you could do it today. You sign up and you can watch it today, and use that time to say, is this going to be the thing that's going to change my life? My odds are yes, or I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be spending my time doing this. I want to help you. I want to help all of the people that didn't have these techniques before. It's so much simpler than you think. It's just, you don't know the formula. And so come find out the formula, baby steps, and then take it from there. When I was going through my divorce, it's like, what if this happens? Or, oh my God, I'm never going to meet someone. Or what if I'm making the wrong choice? What if I ruin my children? But it's like, I have no idea, because I haven't even taken the next step. And what happens tomorrow can change the entire future. So to try and think about what's going to happen, it's just not reality. What you do know is one foot in front of the other. So I just did one foot in front of the other until you can start to run. And that's Soar to 24. And I love to see you there.
Oh, thank you so much. You know what? That little last piece of advice was something I needed to hear. So
one foot in front of the other. It's all you got to do.
I love to future trip, and I love to sort of plan and orchestrate my future. Like I have some sort of control or something.
Right. Well, you have control of your next choice. Right?
I do. And that's it.
Yeah. One choice at a time.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, Stacy, thank you so much for being on the show today. I truly appreciate you sharing your gifts with us. You gave a lot of knowledge bombs and truth wisdom. So everybody, make sure you go sign up and watch and make that action step for yourself.
Love it. Thank you so much. And I look forward to meeting all of you.
Absolutely. Yes. All right. Everyone, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next week. Bye for now.